everyone, Nara here from Peoria Life, and you are tuning in to the Director's Desk. And today we have the opportunity of sitting down to talk with the owner and founder of Hike It Like It's Hot. Y'all already know how I do it. I do not like to introduce people. I like for them to introduce themselves because they know their organization and their brand and everything way better than me. So, would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers and tell them what Hike It Like It's Hot is?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for the introduction. My name's Tara Vornkahl, and I started the women's hiking group called Hike It Like It's Hot back in the beginning of 2020, so right before the pandemic. Things were kind of shutting down, and it was winter. I thought, what better time to start a women's hiking group than now? We actually didn't have our first meetup until the end of the summer of 2020. So in that time span, we were just kind of gaining traction and gaining members. And it was all organic growth. So I wasn't promoting it at all. It was just an event that I put on Meetup. And I think there was a need for it because within those first few months that I created it and launched it on meetup.com, we had over 100 women that signed up to be a part of the group. And we hadn't even had a meetup yet. So people are really, really looking forward to our first meetup. And it all kind of took off from there. So just kind of the premise of the group, we encompass the central Illinois area and we hike different spots, not just in Peoria, but the Peoria and the surrounding areas here. So Washington, East Peoria, Pekin, Marquette Heights, I'm trying to think where else, Dunlap. We even go all the way out to Starved Rock and Matheson Park. And so we hike on a weekly basis, sometimes 2 times a week, depending on how ambitious I am feeling. When the weather is warmer, we do have hikes that are on the weekdays as well. I will have Thursday evening hikes that are introductory for new members. Sometimes it can be a little intimidating to come to a big group of women, go hike a trail. And it's just everyone, they're comfortable or comfort level is different. It's kind of broad spectrum. So I want to offer a little bit of something for everyone's comfort level. And so we do hikes and now the group is evolving a little bit. I'm starting to dip into some other areas. Health and wellness is something I'm really passionate about, as well as personal and self-growth. And so we are starting to get into different events such as breathwork, which was probably the event that you saw take place last night. So no, it's not hiking. I'm trying to figure out a way to pivot without creating like this whole other group. So I'm not really sure the direction we're going to go in with it right now, but I just really see a need for women in our area to connect with each other, and especially kind of around the premise of health and wellness. And I want to make things like that more accessible to women without people feeling like they have to spend a bunch of money to be a part of something. We're starting to offer breath work. We do the hikes, and then we are going to start doing yoga once the weather gets warmer. I'm a certified yoga instructor. I just got my 200 hour. So we're going to start doing that outdoors when the weather gets nicer. We kind of got a bunch of things going on.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And I really like the fact that, like you said, it's about having fun and you're still putting health and wellness into it. And honestly, mental health, because who doesn't like to go outside when they just need to take a breather? The first thing you always hear people say is, oh, I just have to take a walk and clear my head. So why not hike and do the same thing?
Absolutely. There's a lot that can be said for reconnecting with self, especially out in nature. It's just kind of taking it back to the basics. I know when I work from home, so when I'm sitting in front of a computer and I have back to back Zooms, which I'm sure you're familiar with, you get a little burnt out. And it is going outside in the woods is just a nice reset for the nervous system.
Tell me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last summer, I had to be careful because I can go out into the woods and go hiking by myself and like 4 or 5 hours can pass. So I really have to keep myself like in check. But our hikes usually last probably like 2 hours is a normal hike that we do. And I know when I'm first telling women who are interested in joining the group, I'm like, yeah, we hike for 2 hours and we hike 3 to 4 miles. And they're like, whoa, that's
Like,
a
whoa.
lot. And that can seem really intimidating. But I'm like telling them, I mean, it goes by really fast. And when you're with a big group of women, you don't even realize that 2 hours has passed and that you just don't.
That's
And
true.
but versus when you're by yourself, because you're kind of like, oh, when's this gonna be over with? If your head's not in it. So when you're with women, you're having conversation and you're making connections, you're not even, feeling the exertion behind the hike. And
Wow.
we have hikes that are easy going. Not all of our hikes are, climbing. We don't have mountains around here. It's pretty flat. So, but there are some substantial hills in this area. So I make sure to denote before we go on a hike, hey, just a heads up, this is the elevation gain, just in case you were wondering. But you can do it. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fun. Everyone that's ever come to our hikes, everyone's been able to finish and they feel so much stronger and more confident after the hike. So that's really special to see.
Wow, I'll never forget. I moved here from Michigan almost 5 years ago. And it was a friend of mine, and I'm like, oh, I need to get some exercise. I want to go for a walk with my daughter. She was like 3 months at the time, so she was still in her stroller. And he's like, oh, well, we could go over by the zoo. And I'm like, Peoria has a zoo? He was like, you live 5 minutes away from it. Well, now I live about 10, but I'm like, okay. So he's like, yes, a park over there. We can walk through the trails. No big deal. I'm excited. I had my waist trainer on and everything. Then some kind of way, the trail took us into the middle of the cemetery. And I was like,
yes!
Oh my God.
Yes! Springdale. You made it to Springdale.
I'm like, what in the world? How did I end up in the cemetery?
Yeah, so we do hike/walks in Springdale as well. That's one of like our favorites when the weather isn't so great. Springdale is a good go-to because there's pavement, and if it's snowed or there's some ice, we're able to walk around it. So I'm really adamant about keeping the momentum going of this group even through the winter weather. So Springdale, the cemetery you stumbled on, that is one of our favorite spots to actually kind of go and have a walk.
Now, have you had anyone that's not used to like the different trails and paths in the area get shocked when they realize, like, holy crap, we're at a cemetery?
No, so like no one's really been shocked. I've had people express that they didn't realize that there were all these options in our area to go explore and to be outside. And we do have trails here, and it's, either people move here from outside of the area, even people that have grown up here their whole lives, they're just not aware of the trails that we have. And the Peoria Park District does a really good job maintaining these trails. And some of the trails are shared with the Peoria Area Mountain Bike Club as well. So we hit the Peoria Park District, Fond du Lac Park District. We go out to Dunlap to Singing Woods, and then a few places out in Pekin and Marquette Heights. And so we have a nice mix of trails in this area.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really nice. And then there's some paved trails too in this area. Like here in East Peoria, we have the River Trail that runs between East Peoria and Morton. So we walk that sometimes as kind of another go-to when the weather is fashionable.
Wow, that is so amazing. Now, I know you mentioned that you started your club. So do you participate in like the different marathons throughout like the state and things like that, like the breast cancer walk? And
I love that idea. Now that you're bringing that up, no, we haven't participated in any of that. So that is, I need to write that down. Yes, we have not participated in any of the charitable walks or anything like that. I'm actually getting a pen and paper because I want to write that down. So we're going to start. We haven't.
See, you never know what comes out of these interviews.
I know. I love it.
Absolutely.
The wheels move in. So charitable walks. I'm going to look at that for this year and see what's going on. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I know you said you work from home and you started the club during the pandemic, cold months at that.
Yeah.
So how hard was it to get people to say, wow, she has the dream job. Everybody has raved about how they want to work from home. Did you have a lot of people say, you finally get to sit at home all day and get paid, and now you want to start a club where you have to leave the house? Like, what was the reaction from individuals in the area?
I think women were just grateful that something like this existed. And I think a lot of great things start out of our own wants and desires. And so hiking has always been a big passion of mine. I started working from home almost 4 years ago. So by trade, I'm a virtual assistant. I do a lot of administrative work, and I work on different corporate contracts in the United States. And working from home, I started before the pandemic happened. So I had a little bit of that lifestyle under my belt before things really shut down. And honestly, it has allowed me to create and work on different passion projects of mine that I don't know if I would have been able to focus on when I worked in corporate. So hiking became a huge passion of mine. I used to live in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, wow.
I'm from this area originally. So I'm back home, but I moved to Dallas right after I graduated Bradley in 2012. And I worked in economic development. I worked in corporate, lived in a city, felt really disconnected from nature. Was always just a really active person, and kind of started finding myself being less and less active the more and more I was working. And I was like, I need to find something, whatever it is that I like to do that doesn't feel like a chore, and just go do it. And hiking was that. And there was a women's hiking group in Dallas that I was a part of, and it was huge. There was over 2,000 members.
Wow.
Yeah. So there would be like 40 to 50 of us that would show up at a meetup. And it was an intense, these hikes were like 9 miles long. They were intense hikes. So I loved it. And I got to meet other women that were passionate about hiking too, and that just wanted to get outside and nature. And it really inspired me to hike more and more. So at the end of 2019, I took a trip to Peru, and I hiked the Inca Trail, which leads to Machu Picchu. And yeah, it was a big hike, and it was over the span of like 4 or 5 days that we did it.
Oh, wow.
It was a journey. I think it's like 24, 25 miles, but it's stretched out over a course of a few days. And then you end the hike with ending up at the ruins of Machu Picchu. And that was the turning point. And I decided to move back home at the end of that trip and come back to Central Illinois. And I was like, you know what? There's no women's hiking group that exists here. And all my friends like to hike. I like to hike. I know there's other women here that want to hike too and just be outside. So I started it. And just what you have to do sometimes. You have to pull the trigger on things when things don't exist, and just hope for the best. And I was like, what's the worst that can happen? No one comes. Like, that's it's the worst that can happen.
You're right.
But it's been a huge blessing. And I've made so many connections with different women that I probably wouldn't have connected with otherwise. And I think a lot of the other members can say the same. I've seen a lot of friendships grow outside of the group, which is also really rewarding to see as well.
Wow, that is so amazing. So if you had to tell me 3 words to describe hiking like it's hot, what would those 3 words be to get people to come and try it out?
Oh man, the 3 words I would say are tenacity, character, and integrity. That encompasses, I think, a lot of the members that show up to the group. There's a lot of women that come that have self-doubt or are apprehensive just about the physicality of it, but they're determined and they have grit. And I can see that when they show up, and I can see the boost of confidence when they see this big group of women that come from all different walks of life. You know, we're not all marathoners. So everyone has a different fitness level. And I think that's the beauty of hiking, that it is so welcoming to anyone, no matter where they're at in their fitness journey or whatever that looks like. It is beginner friendly. Someone who never has had a fitness regimen, I think hiking is such a low impact, friendly way to kind of get into a routine So that's kind of the tenacity part of it. And the other part of it is character, in terms of we have a really good time. There's a lot of different characters that are in our group, and we all balance each other out really nicely. And I think maybe sometimes people can get intimidated by coming into a big group of women. And I would say that don't be intimidated, that we are a fun bunch. We are warming, we are welcoming. And I mean that in the most sincerest way. I know what it feels like to try to belong or go into a group, and you get a feeling or you get a sense of, I don't know if they really want me here. And that's all on me. That's my projection. But it matters to me to make sure that people feel wanted and included. And I do really think we do a good job of that, because we have women that keep coming back every week. So that's the character part of it. And the intention/integrity part is we are consistent, and I make sure that we are scheduling hikes almost on a weekly basis, and we're keeping the momentum going. That's how you gain traction and momentum and get turnout. And just keeping that consistency, I have seen an uptick in attendance from our members. So we have 340 members now. Obviously, not everyone is showing up at every single meetup. But I would say we have a solid 20 to 25 women turnout for every event, weather pending. And so I think a lot of that has to do with the intention that I set behind this group and the integrity that I set behind it. And it's really important to me that we are consistent, that we meet up regularly, that there is variety and where we go. So yeah, those are the 3 words that I would put out there to describe our group.
Oh, that is amazing. So you said you have moved to Texas for a while and came back after your hiking trip. For individuals that think they have to leave Peoria to follow their dreams, what advice would you give them? For anybody that's listening, they're like, I'm thinking about either moving to Peoria or, maybe I should go back home for a little bit. Like, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I've been there. I have felt that, especially, man, I graduated college in 2012, and the job market was a little weird back then. And I tried really hard. I wanted to stay in Peoria, but the line of work that I was in, it just wasn't lining up. And so, for everyone has their own journey. So depending on what people are looking to do in their lives and what areas they're looking to fulfill, they might be called to go have a life experience outside of this area for whatever given period of time. But just speaking for myself, I had a calling to come back. Peoria has always felt like home to me. Actually, I visited quite often. I moved away to Dallas. I came back probably 4 times a year. I would just get in my car and drive back to Peoria. I'm a small town girl. I was raised in Morton, but this area, people really rally together, and people really are resourceful and lift each other up in, whatever endeavors that they are looking to pursue. I see a lot of people, especially young people, really trying to build up this area and build up a community. And that's something that I didn't see a lot of, or I wasn't attuned to when I was younger. So when I left and came back and I really saw the growth in that area, I was like, wow, there's a lot of young people here that are wanting to stay here and stick around here and make it better. So there's a lot of community and growth here. And so I would encourage anyone who's either looking to move here or stay here that, there's a whole community here. You just have to look for it. So, whatever passions that you have and you pursue, you will find your people. I'm a big believer in that. Just like starting the hiking group, I wanted to meet other women that were passionate about nature, outdoors, health, and wellness. And we have to create our own realities, and they don't just come on our doorstep. We have to go out there and do it. And so, Peoria, there's a hunger and there's a need for community. And I think there's a lot of people that are making efforts in doing that.
Absolutely. Well, you kind of answered what is your Peoria life, but I'm still going to ask it anyway. What is Peoria life to you?
Yeah, so my Peoria life, I would say, is intentionally connecting with others through mindfulness, health, and wellness. Those are some areas that I think are really gaining traction, especially after the pandemic. I think people are just looking to get grounded and get healthy and well for themselves. And it's finding common ground with other people of different walks of life and hearing their story, especially after everything that everyone has been through over the last 2 years. You know, it looks different for everyone, whether someone lost their job, they've had a major career change, you know, they've been locked in their homes or haven't been able to go and do and be social like they were before. I think that's really starting to change. So that would be my Peoria life, is basically just intentionally connecting with others.
Wow, well, thank you for that. So, for anybody that wants to join Hike It Like It's Hot, or even just try it out, or just see what's going on for a date or anything, they might want to do a girlfriend's date or something. How can they follow you on social media and check out different events you have planned?
Yeah, absolutely. So the group is free. You don't have to pay or anything to join. But the way to find our group and our events that are posted, it's on meetup.com. Meetup is also an app, and it's been around for quite some time. And they'll just search for Hike It Like It's Hot Central Illinois Women's Hiking Group. They can type that in. So that's basically the main area to find all of our events and what we have going on. And then people can also, I don't know if I can give out my personal email. People can just email me. Okay, my email is tvornkahl@gmail.com. So if for some reason someone can't find the group, they can just shoot me an email and I'll help them out. But
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I know you are busy with growing a group that is going to go from being only under 500 to probably thousands before we even know it, and then being a virtual assistant, working for yourself, all of that stuff. You are a busy woman.
it's very busy, but it's a good busy. I feel very fulfilled. But yeah, the group, like I think Cedric found my post on one of the Peoria groups, and one night at like 10:30, I was like, I'm just going to post the group on all these Facebook groups and see what happens. We went from 230 something members to 340 in a matter of like 12 hours. So the need is there, and people were really excited about it. And I had no expectation. I thought maybe just a few people would sign up. We had over 100 people that joined in a very short period of time. So my mom's like, what are you going to do when you have a meetup and you have like 100 people that show up? I'm like, well, who's going to get mad? Like, we're in the woods. Like, who's going to get upset? There's 100, like, you know what I mean? It's not like we're showing up at a restaurant, but I don't know. I think it's great. It's wonderful. I'm very excited. I appreciate you taking the time to interview me and to get to know more about the group and help promote it. So that's very special. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you have heard it here. Hike It Like It's Hot. Definitely check them out on meetup.com. And she gave you her email. So that way you have no reason why you won't know about it, as well as she just told you. She went crazy on Facebook, posted it everywhere. So you can definitely find this group, get out, get some exercise. We all know hiking, walking, it's good for so many parts of our body and our mind. So definitely check it out. And it's free. So you don't have to complain about the price. It's free. So why not support it? And as always, I am Nara, and this has been Director's Desk with Peoria Life. And remember, Peoria Life, it's a life to live. Until next time, everyone be safe and continue to enjoy our wonderful city.